The UK population throws away 295 billion pieces of plastic every single year. And for a person, that means you're throwing away about 34.4 kilograms of plastic every year, which is loads. And worse than that, a lot of this is non-recyclable. So stuff like plastic film, which comes on food packaging, you can't really recycle, and that's the majority of the stuff that we use. It can be really difficult to remember how much plastic that you've got through in a week because we throw it away and then it disappears. We never have to think about it again. So we had Dan from Everyday Plastic come into our office. Dan moved to Margate, basically. There was no recycling in his area. He lived by the sea and was starting to see the effects that plastics are having on his local area. So, as you do, he decided to collect all of his plastic for an entire year and store it in his spare room. He collected over 4,000 bits of plastic in a year, and he worked with a scientist to analyse it to find out how much of it was recyclable and how much of it was single use. So why did you decide to collect all of your plastic in the first place?
I moved from London to Margate in 2016. When I got there, I noticed that I didn't have any curbside recycling. There was no bins there, so I called the council. They said, sorry, it's not available where you live, which I thought was really weird. I lived 400 metres from the supermarket. Walking down the aisles in there, I already had alarm bells going off about plastic. Now I realised that I wasn't offered any recycling. So this whole experience was completely different, seeing so much plastic. When I walked down the fruit and veg aisle or down the cleaning products, everything was plastic. Being a coastal town, I was walking or running along the beach and I'm sort of face to face with real-time plastic pollution in the marine environment. I remember running once after a storm and the storm had brought in loads of plastic. There was an old bread tag there, and bread tags stopped being used in the 1970s.
Wow.
Coca-Cola bottles that had sort of different languages on them.
It's made its way over the ocean. Yeah. Ooh, it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah. There's so much plastic now in supermarkets. If you think of, I think of one example from the other day. I saw a noodle pack. It was like an Itsu noodle pack. And again, we're talking about the constituent parts. There's about 6 or 7 pieces of plastic in here. There's obviously the pot itself, the wrap around that, the lid. Inside there's the noodles that come in a plastic pouch, the sauce that comes in a plastic pouch, the seasoning that comes in a plastic pouch. It's completely unnecessary, and it's a complete sort of exploitation of us really and the material. It's not something that we need, it's not something that we want either. It doesn't make it cleaner, it doesn't make it
easier.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that we have to, even by avoiding purchasing something like that, or even taking a picture of it and putting it on Twitter and saying, Itsu, what's all this about? These things make a difference. You'll get a reply from Itsu if you posted that. So there's lots of things that we can do to raise awareness of superfluous and pointless packaging like that. What's frightening about what I've experienced, this experiment shows, is that firstly, that the plastic doesn't really look any different now than it did when it was on the shelf, but it's still rubbish and it's still in the bin. And secondly, we have completely sort of disconnected from what we're consuming, what we're buying. I used 4,490 pieces of plastic in a year. I don't remember using any of it, really. I mean, apart from one sort of bag of bolognese flavoured crisps, which was incredible. But essentially, the rest of it, I'm probably spending thousands of pounds on this kind of stuff, and actually most of it is ending up, in the bin. You are paying for the packaging. So I think being able to take a step back and consider what we're buying, have a pause as part of the decision-making process, and not just like file everything into a basket while you're travelling down an aisle is quite an important. And it's difficult because we're all short of time and we have bigger fish to fry. We've got to pay our rent or our mortgage, feed our kids, balance jobs and stuff. So it is where determining where we can make the changes that works within our lives, but also to take it on ourselves to discuss this and share and learn about it more. It really is probably rests a lot with supermarkets. This is where I would say almost 80%, perhaps more, of my plastic came from. Certainly if you look at all my, 67% of my plastic collection was food, 10% was cleaning and hygiene. All of this stuff's available at the supermarket. So supermarkets are where the change needs to happen, and that's where we should be pushing for. I'm not saying that you have to go and campaign outside your local supermarket, because honestly that's not me either, but there's easy ways to have a chat with your supermarket manager, or ask someone who you know to do it, write to them. There's lots of different ways to make sort of easy changes, or give people a bit of a nudge.
Dan has set the challenge to us, and we have given it a go for just a week. He's also set up a group called Everyday Plastic, where they're trying to get data from 10,000 people to see what kinds of plastics the UK public really uses. The project is just at the start, but you will be able to take part yourself very soon. We're going to be making another video next year with all the details of how you can get involved. So, me and some of the Hubbub team challenged ourselves to collect all of our plastic for a week to see what we used, if it was recyclable, and what we can do about it. So, just to show you how much was recyclable, this is how much recycling packaging that we collected for a week, and this is how much non-recyclable packaging we collected in a week. I was quite genuinely surprised by how much plastic I collected over the week. I collected 41 bits of plastic over the week, but I was out. I had birthdays, so I was out 3 nights. I was eating out, which meant that I wasn't using plastic on those nights. I imagine on an average week, I probably collect a lot more plastic than that. And obviously we're an environmental charity, so a lot of us are already sort of conscious about our plastic use. There wasn't any plastic bottles or coffee cups, but we were still shocked by how much we had used and then completely forgotten about, because it just goes out of your head. And it's made me think about consumption and the way that we consume things and where we put them. I think the relationship that we have to that has got a little bit skewed, and we need to think a lot more about the things that we're using, how we dispose of them, and where they go. There were some really tricksy things, like a pair of tights, which have got plastic in them I didn't even think about, but they got a hole in and then thrown away, and there's nowhere for them to go. There's also some stuff like milk bottles. The labels on milk bottles aren't recyclable, but the rest of the bottle is. So that can have an effect on how much is recyclable and how much isn't. There were just loads of little niggly weird bits of plastic that I felt like didn't really have to be there. So I'm interested to see whether, having done this, I can reduce the amount of plastic that I'm using overall. Dan gave us another really good tip, which was if you can scrunch the plastic, then it's probably not recyclable. So that's all of the packaging around food, cling film, that kind of thin plastic. But if it's hard plastic, and especially if it's PET, it can definitely be recycled. So we need to start looking at those softer plastics, which often councils aren't that interested in, because they are tested on how much weight of plastic they recycle or don't recycle. Obviously, soft plastic doesn't weigh very much, it's not worth very much, so it's not something that people are looking at. Just as an example, this would be soft plastic. So this is what you'd use to wrap a lettuce in. It's really difficult to find stuff like lettuce not in a wrapper like this. It'd be amazing if you could buy it without plastic, but it's really difficult to find. What you can do though, if you have space like a windowsill and it's summer, you can grow your own. It's really easy. We grow it in the office. You can do it too. This would be hard plastic. So an ordinary plastic water bottle, definitely recyclable. Make sure that if you do buy them, you're putting them in the recycling. This has been really illuminating for me. I'm totally shocked by the amount of plastic that we're all using and how much we in the UK are using. So we're gonna make another video where I try my hand at reducing the amount of plastic that I use in a week. If you have any top tips for me and you've done this before, please let me know in the comments and give it a go yourself at home. Let me know how it goes. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
And that's the end of the episode. To find out more and to get inspired, head to our website www.hubbub.org.uk, where you'll find loads of top tips to give you the spark to do things differently. Tune in for the next episode and come and join the Hubbub.